Hey everyone, welcome back to JarDev. This is a bit of a different video. I was asked by Sean Headley if I would record a video on my thoughts on Hearthstone and why I don't think it's a great game, and why I still play it basically every day despite not thinking it's a very good game. Sean got to request this video because he backs at the top tier of my Patreon campaign, which you can find at patreon.com/JarDev. When I first heard the kind of video that Sean wanted me to make, I was a little bit kind of nervous to make it because I've had a couple of controversial videos recently. I just don't want any more like negativity, you know? And I also thought there's people way more qualified to make this kind of video than I am. But then the more I thought about it, the more I realized there are quite a few things that I can say about the game, and I'm perfectly happy to, so here goes. I think the main thing we're going to center this video around is this blog post that Hearthstone posted on their website. It's Hearthstone in the Works, September 18th. Now I know this is like a week and a half ago when the video comes out, but the Hearthstone devs do communicate so rarely that this is probably going to be relevant for another 3 months, so this is probably fine. And this article basically has almost every issue that is wrong with the game present in the article. So basically the idea for this was they're going to talk about what they've got planned for Hearthstone in the next few months. Which immediately brings us to the first big issue with the game is the Hearthstone dev team's incredible reluctance to make any sort of changes to the game. Think of a game like Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh! If you print a card, it's physically printed. You cannot make any changes to it, because then people would have out-of-date cards. You can't just update physical cards. That was the beauty of something like Hearthstone. All these digital card games was, if you printed a card 2 years ago, and then suddenly, for some reason, you release a new set, and that card from 2 years ago works incredibly well, too well is OP in fact. Because it's all digital, you can just make a couple of changes to that card, and it will apply to everybody playing the game. No problems. And Hearthstone just refuses to make any kinds of major changes for months at a time. So the argument that Hearthstone devs don't make changes can basically be broken down into two separate parts of it. The first part is that necessary nerfs usually take too long to come out. And the second part is they typically nerf once per expansion, and each expansion lasts for 4 months. So the biggest example of the first one, them taking too long to make necessary nerfs, was a card called Naga Sea Witch, which was broken. It led to this incredibly annoying combo that you could play in Wild. It was broken for 8 months before they finally decided to change it. It led to a very disgruntled Hearthstone fan actually paying for an ad on Reddit saying that Naga Sea Witch needed a nerf. And I think it was up for around a month or something, and then eventually the card got nerfed. And so a prime example of the second argument, where they don't do frequent enough nerfs, is Quest Rogue, the rogue quest. It's been nerfed twice already, and it needs nerfing a third time. I'm not saying it's like the most oppressive thing, but I think plenty of people would agree that it does need something changing with it. Because of a new card called Giggly Inventor released in the Boomsday patch, it made Quest Rogue very, very strong again. I don't think it's too strong, but I haven't played against many, but I don't play ranked anymore, pretty much at all. But I think the whole Quest Rogue deck does need something doing with it again. And of course, this new Quest Rogue deck was made a week, maybe 2 into the Boomsday Project meta, and it's been out for a month and a half now. So, you know, it's been needing changes for 3 to 4 weeks and nothing. So there's the first 2 arguments. Let's actually get into the article here. So here we go, the first bit, game updates, the state of the meta. They talk about decks that have been top performers. They say there are effective decks from every class. Evolve Shaman. I have not played against Evolve Shaman since Whispers of the Old Gods over a year ago. And then they go on to say, to conclude, overall we're happy with the excellent diversity of decks we're seeing at all levels of ranked play. So that's it, the first thing in the works, game updates, we're not doing anything. We're not making any changes, we're totally happy with Quest Rogue, despite people saying that there's issues with it. I will say there's a pretty diverse meta right now. You can go onto ladder and play against almost every class. Obviously Druid is probably, it's the best class right now. It's got a lot of different win conditions. But the last two expansions, Boomsday and Witchwood, have had very diverse metas, which has been very fun. But I guess that's enough for them. They don't really care if one of the decks is too broken, or if 5 of the decks, all of which are Druid, are too broken. They're fine. They're not going to do anything about it. Here's a little section called Cards to Watch. Giggling Inventor, that's the one I was talking about. It's hugely popular and shows up in a lot of decks. We intended for it to be powerful because we found that having powerful neutral top maners tends to make games more interesting. I don't know if it does, because Giggling Inventor is an auto-include. It goes in basically every deck. Like Sludge Belcher is the same, Tar Creeper is the same. I don't think that makes games more interesting. Because no matter what class you're playing against, turn 5, they're probably throwing down a Giggling Inventor, because it's so strong. In my opinion, that doesn't make games more interesting, where you're always going to be playing against the same card in every deck. And again, just like the last section, they say we're not planning any changes to Giggling Inventor for now, but we're keeping an eye on it in the meantime. We'd like to know what you think. You could have gone on Reddit any time in the last month and you'd know what people think. You know what people think. You don't want to know what people think anymore. Just remember before we go into the next section that is called In the Works. It's things they're planning on doing. Game updates. Oh. Wild balance. They basically want to know what people think about Wild right now. Should there be more, I don't know, should it be stricter in Wild? Because basically, if people are new to Hearthstone, there's two ways you can play. You can play in Standard or Wild. Wild uses card sets from every set all the way back to the very first one, and Standard just uses cards from the last 2 years. So in this section they basically say, we don't want another Naga Sea Witch, which wouldn't have been a problem if we hadn't taken 8 months to fix it. They don't say that, but obviously that's true. And they also want to hear opinions on what you want from Wild. So in the works, still nothing in Wild. Now the next section, new classic cards, is actually very good, I think. I think all the cards are terrible, but basically they've been taking cards from the classic set, which is always in Standard, and moving them to Hall of Fame, which is only in Wild, if they were too strong. So this is them just kind of replenishing some of those cards that are missing. I think they're actually decent cards. They're bad cards, but they are good for the classic set, because add a random mage spell, add a random demon, add a random card to your hand. The whole point of these is they basically let you play with cards that you don't have in your collection. You play this, you can get any mage spell. So these are great cards for new players, so I think they're great to go in Classic. But even so, even in this pretty positive section, we've still got this ridiculous bit here. You'll be able to craft them or open them in Classic card packs in early November. It's late September right now. Why are these not coming in right away? Like, Mage is missing cards from Classic right now. It has less Classic cards because they've been moved to Hall of Fame. Why is it going to take 2 months, I guess a month and a half, to get these into the game? Hearthstone is so ridiculously slow to do anything. Adding 4 new cards that nobody except new players are going to play is not going to happen until November. Now this section is probably the most insulting part of the whole blog post, is their update on in-game tournaments. An in-game tournament mode is something that's been requested in Hearthstone for at least 2 years, I'd say. Being able to set up like a tournament in-game using the game engine. You know, if you have a bunch of friends who play Hearthstone, you could do a really cool in-game tournament to figure out who's the best. That'd be really cool. That's what people wanted it for. And also obviously for the official eSports. Right now, the official way Hearthstone does it is they have one person spectating the game and they just share that person's screen. And that is the eSports for Hearthstone. Bear in mind that Artifact, which is Valve's new collectible card game, is going to be launching in November, and it's going to have an in-game tournament mode when it launches. So they basically sum up this in-game tournament update by saying, we're not doing it. We can't be bothered, basically. Despite it being a very, very highly requested feature, one of the most requested features in Hearthstone, it's not going to make them any more money, so they're not going to bother doing it. The feature is on hold for the foreseeable future. It's not happening, basically. I think their idea is people, really competitive players who want in-game tournament mode, are either just going to suck it up and still play Hearthstone, or they're going to leave for Artifact. And Artifact's going to be a better competitive game anyway, so they're just not going to bother. It's not worth their time. And right at the end they said they're going to be bringing out a new Paladin hero for the game. It's only available to purchase as part of a special deal. An unpopular opinion, but I actually just prefer being able to outright buy the hero. I didn't like having to do the weird things, like to get Liadrin as the other Paladin hero, you had to get a character to level 20 in World of Warcraft. I would have much rather just paid like 10 bucks, 15 bucks just to get it. But I'm pretty sure that's a bit of an unpopular opinion. Actually, you can't even buy this by itself. It looks like, from Blizzard's press site, that the only way you can get this is by buying it in a bundle with 20 packs. I don't want any packs. I think they're Witchwood packs, but they could be Boomsday. I just want the hero power, the hero portrait, but to get it you're gonna have to buy packs, which is a bit annoying. So now that I've sort of ranted about the game, talked about a ton of its downsides, why do I still play it basically every day? There's a few factors. One is obviously the sunken cost fallacy, because I spend probably around 50 to 80 bucks every 4 months on it, which is mind-blowing when you actually think about it. Because I've put so much money into the game, I feel like if I start skipping expansions now and just stop playing, that's a lot of money that is just kind of gone. I know it's already gone, but at least I can play with the cards that I've bought right now. If I stop playing, that money's just gone. And I feel like I've put too much time and money into the game to just give it up completely. The other big reason is the first month or so after a new expansion launches is the absolute most fun I ever have with Hearthstone. I get to mess around with all these new cards and play so many weird and fun decks. Because I spend like 50 to 80 bucks, however much the bundles are, I basically have enough dust, money, cards to craft any card from the new expansions I want. So if there's like this crazy new deck that's sweeping across ladder, I can build it, no problem. Like already coming up to, I mean the next expansion is going to launch in December, probably early, mid-December. I think I'm already at like over 2,000 gold, which is 20 packs. So, you know, I'll probably be opening around 100 packs on day one, which again just gives me everything I will need from that new expansion. And you've probably seen the videos I do on Hearthstone. When a new expansion comes out, I just play the weird, funny decks. And I absolutely love doing that. It's so much fun. And I guess the final reason why I still play the game is I'm kind of holding out hope that it might turn around. They might make these good changes. Because it is a digital card game, it can be improved anytime the devs feel like it's worth their time, pretty much. So yeah, I'm hopeful for the game. I feel like it's probably stupid at this point to be hopeful for it, but I'd love it to be a great game. I don't want to go play Artifact. I don't want to play Elder Scrolls Legends. I don't want to play Faeria, Shadowrun. Shadowrun? It's not Shadowrun. Shadowverse, I think it's that. I've tried all those games, but I've just played so much Hearthstone that if I try another game, I'd just rather be playing Hearthstone. I will say I did think Elder Scrolls Legends was going to be the game to finally get me to give up Hearthstone, but Hearthstone decks are 30 cards, whereas Elder Scrolls Legends decks are 50 cards, so that was almost twice as many cards I needed to unpack to make a good deck in Elder Scrolls Legends, so I feel like Hearthstone is a lot easier to get into. And they are pretty generous to new players. Pretty much I think like if you make a new account and log in right now, you'll get like 3 or 4 free legendary cards and a bunch of packs. It's pretty decent to get into. But if you get into it wanting to never spend money, you will be very, very frustrated, I think. If you play free to play, you basically can make one deck, one meta deck, and you're kind of stuck with that one. Anyway, I hope that video wasn't too rambly. It went a lot longer than I thought it was going to go. I'm surprised I was able to talk that much about Hearthstone. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy it, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!